understanding different types of Leo and psychology behind them. Everyone thinks Leo's obsessed with attention, but what if it's not attention you want? What if it's recognition? You don't shine to be seen. You shine to remind people what light looks like. That's the difference between ego and identity. And that's where people get Leo wrong. Because not every Leo wants the stage. Some want to lead, some want to teach, and some just want to build something worth admiring. There are actually 3 kinds of Leos, each ruled by a different force. One radiates leadership, one spreads wisdom, and one burns with unstoppable drive. And here's the wild part. Psychology agrees with you. Confidence, creativity, and purpose literally trigger the same parts of the brain that light up when we fall in love. That's why when you're doing what you're meant to do, you don't just feel proud, you feel alive. So no, you're not just the attention sign. You're the architect of your own sunlight. Let's break down the 3 kinds of Leos and find out what kind of fire you're made of. Core archetype, the Leo mind. Let's start with what really defines a Leo. Leo is fixed fire, ruled by the sun, the only body in our solar system that doesn't orbit anything else. It doesn't chase, it centers. And that's your psychology in one sentence. You don't crave control, you crave alignment. You're not here to dominate, you're here to radiate. In psychology, Leo energy reflects the development of self-concept, the awareness of who you are and how you express it. Psychologist Carl Rogers described this as the foundation of authenticity. When your real self and your ideal self finally match, that's when a Leo shines. Neuroscience supports this too. When we express ourselves freely, whether through art, leadership, or performance, the brain's dopamine system lights up. It's the same reward pathway that activates with love and accomplishment. That's why Leos feel most alive when they're creating or inspiring others. It's not vanity, it's chemistry. But your light comes with a responsibility to stay self-aware. Because the moment expression turns into performance, the sun becomes the spotlight, and you start living for applause instead of authenticity. At your core, you're here to embody courage, to show what it looks like when confidence is rooted in truth, not noise. The Leo mind isn't about ego, it's about purpose-driven presence. First, Decan Leo, the leader. If you're a first Decan Leo, born between July 23 and August 1, you carry the purest form of Leo energy, ruled doubly by the sun. You're what people imagine when they think of Leo: charismatic, confident, warm, and naturally magnetic. You don't force attention. You command it by simply being present. Psychologically, this is tied to something called self-efficacy, the belief in your ability to make things happen. Psychologist Albert Bandura found that people with high self-efficacy don't wait for opportunity, they create it. That's the first Decan Leo mindset in action. You have an innate ability to see yourself as the main character of your own story. And that's not arrogance, it's self-awareness. You understand that if you don't believe in your role, no one else will either. That's what makes you a leader. Not control, but confidence that inspires others to trust your direction. Biologically, your confidence links to mirror neurons. When you believe in yourself, others' brains subconsciously mirror your energy. It's why you can walk into a room and change the entire atmosphere without saying a word. Your energy calibrates others. But here's where your light can blind you: when you start relying too much on admiration to feel secure. Because the same warmth that draws people in can turn into burnout if you're constantly performing strength instead of living it. The shadow side of this Decan is performative confidence, appearing brave to avoid vulnerability. But true leadership isn't about being flawless. It's about being real enough for people to follow. You are the leader Leo, the embodiment of courage, creativity, and heart. You don't compete with others for the spotlight. You become the reason it exists. The key is remembering that even the sun rests. It sets, it rises, it renews. Your power shines brightest when you lead from presence, not pressure. Second Decan Leo, the mentor. If you're a second Decan Leo, born between August 2 and August 11, You're ruled by the sun with a strong influence from Jupiter, the planet of wisdom, optimism, and expansion. You're not just a light, you're a lighthouse. You don't shine to be seen, you shine to guide. This is the Leo that thrives on purpose, meaning, and connection. Your mind runs on belief in people, in potential, in possibility. Psychologically, your drive reflects what's known as intrinsic motivation, doing something because it feels right, not because it earns reward. Researchers Edward Dacey and Richard Ryan found that when we act from intrinsic motivation, we tap into deeper fulfillment and resilience. That's your secret. You don't just chase success, you create significance. Jupiter's influence gives you an expanded worldview. You're the Leo who thinks big, dreams bigger, and inspires others to see beyond limitation. You can be the teacher, the coach, the friend whose advice sounds like a TED Talk. Because when you speak, people feel hope. Biologically, optimism connects to dopamine regulation, the brain's reward system linked to anticipation and achievement. That's why your positivity isn't naive. It's neurological. Your brain literally lights up when you see progress or potential. You're wired for vision. But that same optimism can turn into overextension, giving too much, taking on too many roles, or believing you have to save everyone. That's the Jupiter trap, mistaking influence for responsibility. Your growth lies in selective generosity, giving without depletion, teaching without fixing, shining without blinding yourself. You're the mentor Leo, the one who uses confidence not to compete, but to cultivate. You don't just lead people, you elevate them, because your power doesn't come from being the brightest in the room. It comes from helping others remember their own light. Third Decan Leo, the warrior. If you're a third Decan Leo, born between August 12th and August 22nd, you're ruled by the sun with a strong influence from Mars, the planet of drive, willpower, and action. You're the Leo who doesn't just dream of greatness, you build it. While the first Decan leads and the second inspires, you move. Your energy doesn't sit still, it transforms thought into momentum. You're wired for challenge because challenge gives your fire direction. In psychology, this reflects drive theory, which explains how inner tension fuels behavior. You operate best when there's something to conquer, not out of aggression, but from a deep need for purpose. You want to feel that your actions matter. Neurologically, this links to the adrenaline-dopamine system, the partnership that turns stress into motivation. Mars activates adrenaline, your fight response energy, while the sun's confidence stabilizes it with focus. That's why you often feel most alive when others would feel overwhelmed. You're the type to turn obstacles into motivation. Tell a third Decan Leo they can't do something, and you'll watch them build an empire just to prove they can. But with that fire comes pressure. When your drive isn't balanced, it can turn into overexertion, burnout disguised as ambition. Mars can push you to take everything personally, to compete when you should collaborate, or to keep fighting battles you've already won. Your emotional growth comes from controlled intensity, learning when to act and when to rest. In assertiveness training, this is called directed energy, using passion intentionally rather than reactively. You're the warrior Leo, strong, loyal, unstoppable when your heart aligns with your mission. Your fire doesn't just burn, it builds. You're here to remind the world that confidence means action, and real strength doesn't roar. It leads by example. Leo reminds us that confidence isn't about proving, it's about being. The first Decan leads, the second mentors, and the third fights for purpose. 3 fires, 1 truth. Real power doesn't shout, it shines. You were born to stand out not because you crave attention, but because your energy creates it. So tell me, which kind of Leo are you? The leader, the mentor, or the warrior? Drop your Decan in the comments and let's see how your fire shows up in the world. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to get all the updates.